Hello and welcome to the Fulhamish Quick Take here on the Fulhamish YouTube channel after Fulham's 3-0 defeat to Bournemouth on Boxing Day. And I'm a little bit late with the quick take, but to be honest, who cares? I can't imagine many of you were there going like, oh, it's Boxing Day evening, but where's Sammy's quick take? I really want to revel more in Fulham's 3-0 defeat. So yeah, I'm a day late, but accept my apologies anyway. And someone else that should probably be dishing out apologies is the Fulham team and Marco Silva after yet another pretty concerning defeat. This Fulham season is an absolute roller coaster, and I can't follow it. And neutrals looking at Fulham must be like, what the hell is going on at Fulham? 5-0, 5-0, then a 3-0 defeat to Newcastle, a 2-0 defeat to Burnley, and a 3-0 defeat to Bournemouth. This is a weird season. And now I'm here and I can't work it out. I can't work out whether Fulham are good or bad. The answer is probably somewhere in the middle. I mean, yesterday was pretty woeful. I thought that actually, again, that opening 20, 30 minutes, we were fine. Like, I think it has become a simple, once again, of whoever gets the first goal in a Fulham game tends to go on and win. And once again, we conceded that first goal here. I thought that, you know, when it's 0-0, we look quite good. We're breaking through the lines. We look comfortable in possession. We don't look like we're conceding too many chances. And then just once again, the game slips away from us. It did against Burnley and now it did against Bournemouth as well. And, you know, we can lament our lack of firepower up top without Raul Jimenez. I'll probably come back to that. But you've got to look at yesterday, some of the defending. And it was the same in that game against Burnley as well. What are we doing? Like, what are we doing for Bournemouth's first goal yesterday? Alex Scott, I mean, great player. I think we all knew that he'd be a hell of a signing for Bournemouth. Just allowed to run through. Pereira puts in a half challenge. Polina kind of bottles it. I'll come back to Polina. And Tete just forgot that he's a right back and not a centre back. And just allowed Justin Kluivert to be completely free. And then just to add insult to injury, Leno should save it, shouldn't he? It squirms under him. I'm not going to have a go too much at Leno. I think ultimately, if you allow any player to get in that kind of position, that close to you, to have a free shot at goal, yes, Leno will be disappointed to let it squirm under him like that. But the mistake is made way before that. And, you know, I think Leno thinks it's going to go to his right. I think he's a bit taken aback by the fact it's not a good shot, which almost makes it a good shot in a way. I'm not here going to criticise Leno at all. You can't let someone get in that position and be like, oh, the goalkeeper should save it. No, you should not let any player get that close to you and be in that much space and have that much time to take a shot. Kenny Tete needs to take a look at himself there. It wasn't a great performance from him yesterday. I don't understand what's really happened to Kenny. And I don't really understand what's happened to our midfield. I mean, that's now, you know, several goals that we've conceded. Obviously 2 in 2 games where players have just been allowed to just waltz through the middle. And I guess part of the question is, does this midfield balance work? I think when Kearney came into this side, and look, I was the first to put my hands up and think that Kearney was the new Messiah, and I still think that Kearney offers a lot. Do we have that defensive protection that we did last year when you had Polina and Reed? Yes, I know that creatively it's not the best, but for me, if Harrison Reed's in that midfield, that goal doesn't happen. I think that Polina is having to cover so much, and as good as he is, he cannot do everything in that midfield by himself. And he's getting caught out a little bit, and I think his willingness to jump into every tackle is being exploited now. I think also Polina knows how many yellow cards he is getting, so doesn't jump into every challenge. And look, there is the more cynical view that is Polina protecting himself ahead of January. He looked crestfallen after the game yesterday. And that might have been because of the penalty incident. It might have just been because we lost. But it doesn't feel like the same Polina that we've watched in the last couple of matches. Bournemouth really probably should have been a couple of goals good at the break. And you just knew from there that Fulham weren't getting back into this. This isn't a case of, okay, we'll go 1-0 down, but after the break, we'll rally the troops. This Fulham team right now seems to go 1 down and not have a lot. And we have seen that under Silva before. That kind of improved a little bit last year where we seemed able to come back from 1 goal down. But I think this is the Silva team of old, and we don't seem to be able to pick ourselves up. And look, the second goal, I mean, it's the most clear penalty that has ever been given. I know Bournemouth fans have been having a joke that I think it's something like 2 years they hadn't had a penalty in. So well done, Bournemouth fans. You got a penalty, and it was the most Stonewall penalty that will ever be given in the history of penalties. When Xiaopelin just runs into Dominic Solanke, 2-0, and you know the game's up then. Again, which is again like, you know, okay, I know that most teams win from a 2-goal advantage, but it's not impossible. And Fulham just seem to kind of give up, not have that much, not offer anything. I mean, the third goal's a banger. Yeah, absolute belter from Sinistera. So 3-0 it finished. And, you know, you're looking at this recent run of results, and the Carabao was a hell of a distraction, a great distraction, and still probably if you'd have offered me a Carabao Cup semi-final but you had to lose these 3 matches, that might have been a trade with the devil I'd have done. But still, it's concerning now. And whereas after Forest and West Ham, I was looking at both of those results and thinking, well, this is a Fulham team that's going to kick on. We're going to go into the top half. We're going to be back to where we were last year. And now Luton Town are 6 points away. Arsenal next, Chelsea after that. And as much as I know that Chelsea are not the force that they once were, and they're not very good this season, I'm never going to look at a game at Stamford Bridge and think, oh yeah, that's 3 points, place that we've never won in 50 years. I mean, Arsenal, in this current vein of form, you've got to say is definitely going to make it 4 defeats in a row. And if you start getting 5 defeats in a row at any time in the Premier League, then you're going, you know, in a couple of weeks break, we might have the cup to distract us. But then you've got, is that a game against Everton to stop it being 6? Not many managers lose 6 games in a row and aren't under pressure. Even someone as high stakes as Marco Silva, and I'm not suggesting it's coming to that at all, but he's got more than enough credit in the bank to last a 6-7 game losing streak. But yeah, it's a bit worrying. And, you know, this is the halfway point through the season. We're on 21 points. Double that is 42. It's enough to stay up, but it's not comfortable. It's not pretty. And the first half of the season was a nicer half of the season in terms of the fixture list. We had a lot more winnable home games. The second half of the season, there aren't many winnable home games. There's a lot of big teams to come to the Cottage. Yes, you may play some of the lower teams away from home, but again, you know, are you relishing a trip to Bramall Lane? Are you relishing a trip to Kenilworth Road? Turf Moor? I'm not. I'm certainly not on current form. And our away form has been shocking this season. Again, probably because we've played big teams, but we've won 1 away game all season. I'm not saying I'm pressing the panic button, but I'm getting a little bit close to it. And I think, to be honest, a lot of it stems from that Burnley loss. I think that was such a horrendous result. I could have probably seen Boxing Day against Bournemouth coming. You know, this is a Bournemouth team that have picked up more points in the last 9 league games than any other side in the division. They were on form. It was a difficult place to go. It was a tough ask. And then, you know, Newcastle, again, probably looking at Forest's result and thinking that could have been us had it not been for Jimenez. Burnley was such an outlier. It was such a game we just had to win. And now we're in a real position of, you know, difficulty because I think mostly of that result. I mean, look, there are some potential, you know, signs of life. Jimenez's suspension has been really crucial. And again, I'm having to go back on a few things that have said previously. Rodrigo Muniz is not the answer. He's had now 3 games, 0 goals, 0 chances, which I think is the most worrying thing. If he was getting chances and missing them, I'd be like, okay, well, you know, he's getting the opportunities, but he's just not. Has he had a shot, really? Barely. And he can't hold the ball up like Raul can. I mean, I cannot believe what I'm saying here, that Raul Jimenez's suspension has been so massive for us. Willian's injury has been a setback too, but like, come on. Like, you look at some teams around the Premier League and what they're having to cope with injury-wise and suspension-wise. We should be good enough to cope without a 32-year-old striker that up until a few weeks ago was on a year-long barren spell and a 35-year-old winger. We have to have a better squad than looking at a couple of those players out and being like, oh, that's the reason now we're losing 3-0 to Bournemouth. As ever, the answer is probably somewhere in the middle. We aren't probably quite as bad as these last few games have illustrated, but we are nowhere near as good as winning games 5-0. And there were circumstances in all of the games that have mitigated those results. And maybe now we'll regress to the mean of Fulham being probably 14th, 15th, as we predicted at the beginning of the season. But we have to be really, really careful now. We have to get some points from somewhere because that bottom three is looking more and more like a vortex. Luton are flying. Forest have now picking up wins. Everton aren't going to stay down there. I mean, teams like Palace are going to have to start looking over their shoulder. And maybe like Luton, it might die down a little bit. They've got a couple of good results. I still would back Fulham with a 6-point head start to get more points than Luton Town. But you've got to be worried. You have to be now looking over your shoulder. And I just can't believe where we are from where we were. Literally 2 weeks ago, I did a quick take and we were like, wow, Fulham are amazing. Even a week ago, I'm here after the Carabao Cup final singing everyone's praises. And look, that's how fast football can change and how this time of year is not the time of year to not be winning games. It's such a crucial time. The games are bang, 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 bang. And Fulham have fallen foul of the Christmas fixtures for sure. And I think there's signs of life. I think that maybe we can show something in one of the next couple of league games to get us back on form. I think there'll be a response against Arsenal. I do really think that Fulham will put in a performance, but the difficulty is against a side like Arsenal, Fulham could play really, really well, play out of their skin and still lose 2-0 because it's Arsenal. And obviously that's the nature of the Premier League. If you don't win your winnable games, then comes along a big team, which is why really I think we will live to rue games like the Burnley game and a bit like yesterday. Yesterday was a really difficult match. So I think in context, you've got to put it down to team massively on form and on the up away from home. It was always going to be difficult to go to Bournemouth and get a result. But now it's 3 defeats in a row and this is what happens and this is where the panic can set in. So I hope that we can stop the rot quickly. For me, against Arsenal, bring a little bit of solidity back. Bring in Harrison Reed into that midfield. I think we would have anyway because it's Arsenal and I don't think we'd have been quite so positive. And bring in Raul and hopefully those two additions might just bring the team back to life a little bit. Let's put in a performance that just shows that this Fulham team is capable of doing good things. Right, that was more of a rant than a quick take really today. There's going to be a podcast coming out on Thursday, myself, Jack and Dan, pouring much more into the detail from the Boxing Day defeats and looking ahead to Arsenal. And we're going to be looking at the FST minutes, which were pretty disgraceful, to be honest. But we're going to get all into that all on the pod. So make sure you subscribe to the pod. Thank you for watching today. Put your comments in. Let me know where you think things are going wrong in the comments. I'll try and get back to a few of you. And I'll be back with a quick take after Arsenal. You whites.